Lateness is greatness, people. I hope you're all well. Thank you for joining us and welcome back to the show. We are expecting Matty to join us because he hasn't been around for a few weeks, to be fair. But I am, of course, joined by Dave, by Liam, and by Billy, and we're going to talk all things Premier League. It's been a mad weekend of shocks, and now in midweek, again looking at European fixtures. And last night's show at the Race for Europe show proved that there's a lot of heated debate at the moment, a lot of controversy as to why Pete Davies been allowed on the show as a Newcastle fan. Funny how it comes out of a West Ham fan's mouth, but that is the way it is. If you haven't watched that show yet, make sure you do. It was absolutely mad in parts and it was total chaos to try and control, but I did my best. Make sure you go and head over to that one. You'll see it from yesterday. Tonight, though, we're talking all things Forest, Villa, Southampton, and it will be Brentford as well. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the shocks of the weekend and touch on Leeds and Brighton because beating Liverpool and Chelsea was an unbelievable result, and it's made things very interesting for our end of the table in terms of the European positions because Chelsea and Liverpool, they've just disappointed this season as far as I'm concerned. But I do want to start with Dave because obviously Arsenal did well in the end. I can't sit there and lie to you though, Dave. At one stage at 1-0, I was wondering if we were going to get a second. We were talking off air about Lingard's shot that looked like it was probably going to cause some problems before half time. But it went our way in the second half. It felt like we turned it on and we looked really, really decent and played football that I would say Arsenal played the first 5-6 games of the season as opposed to the last 5-6 games because it's been a little bit up and down with some of the games. You know, Liam's already mentioned off air about Southampton causing issues, and I thought Leeds we were quite lucky to get 3 points against. So I didn't know what Arsenal team we were going to get. But in the second half, we got an Arsenal team that were really impressive, in my opinion. And I wanted to ask your thoughts on the game because I know you went up there, mate.
Well, I was going to ask you, Dan, where you were between the hours of 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon because I attended the scene of a murder, right? And honestly, CIS Islington, mate, really. All I would say is that no complaints at all. Arsenal were excellent. I think maybe the way the two teams came into the game kind of set Forest up a little bit in that obviously our previous result was a wonderful result. And we were sort of, I wouldn't say riding high, but we were given a boost of confidence by deservedly beating Liverpool. And obviously Arsenal had a little bit of a scrape at Leeds and then a scrape at Southampton and then obviously lost to PSV. So maybe, I don't know if Forest took their foot off the gas a little bit and Arsenal were more determined to kind of put the not quite slick results that they had behind them. But any plan that Forest had was out the window after 2 minutes when Martinelli scored a beauty. I sat in the away end, lads, and Martinelli's run to get in front of Steve Cook to head in was just a thing of wonder. Such pace, such anticipation. I mean, some of ours have tried to blame Cookie. I don't blame Cookie at all. He was just done by a great piece of play. And then you kind of thought,
the absolute clown, Jermaine Jenas, on Match of the Day, saying that Cook's the problem. And like, this guy is supposed to be apparently voted one of the best pundits around at the moment, this Jermaine Jenas guy. Absolute useless. Like, what is he talking about?
The week before, Dan, Cookie was man of the match against Liverpool, and deservedly so. I sat in the Trent end and I saw it all. And Steve was terrific. Cookie gives his all every week. He's knocking on a little bit. He's not the quickest. But like all of our lads, what you get with all of our lads, and one thing I will not take from anybody who supports our club, we get an honest effort. If we didn't get an honest effort, we'd be adrift and relegated already. So our lads know they have the toughest job in the league, right? So I don't blame them. The way the game then went on, it was kind of strange. I thought Arsenal might run away with it early, but then the last 20, 25 minutes of the first half, we got a kind of replica of the last 20 minutes at Brighton where we got a 0-0 draw, and we sort of stymied Brighton a little bit in that game, and we stymied Arsenal a little bit, and there were little hints that Forest were, in it. We all sort of stood there and said, well, we're still in the game, but we were sunk by Admiral Nelson within like 4 or 5 minutes, and then the game was gone. I mean, what and then afterwards, and then when he gets to 3-0 in like a couple of minutes at the start of the second half, Forest are like in this this kind of very dangerous hinterland. Do we go and try and get ourselves a goal and think, bugger it, we'll attack? In which case, Arsenal are going to cut us to ribbons. So if Forest were in this position, they were damned if they did and damned if they didn't. So I think it was just a very, very difficult situation psychologically for the whole team. But I thought Arsenal were. I've been looking at the league, and I think the most improved team in the country are Newcastle United. But to me, the biggest revelation are Arsenal. And taking my Forest hat away, which I have to, because I love football and I love watching other clubs. And I'm not going to come on here and be like, Forest lost and be a juvenile, sore loser. I will not do that ever. I'm going to, I don't want anybody saying Dave Ashby came on and he was whinging like a big girl's players. I'm not going to do that. We lost fair and square. And I thought Arsenal for the first time in a long time are actually a pleasure to watch. I thought on Sunday, I thought Martinelli was like, absolutely fantastic. I love Bukayo. Anybody who doesn't love Bukayo Saka doesn't love football, doesn't love English football. I love the guy. Jesus is a world-class striker. Granit Xhaka is the most rehabilitated man in English football. He went off after 70 minutes to a standing ovation. 3 years ago, they wanted him hung, drawn and quartered. And Saliba and Gabriel were excellent. Everybody for us. What really grabbed me, from a sort of a technicals part of the game, was just how quick Arsenal were in transition. So if they lost the ball and Forest had it, and Forest tried to get forward, and they tried with Taiwo Awoniyi and Jesse Lingard and Morgan Gibbs-White, but every time a Forest player got the ball in Arsenal, so it was like out of nowhere, 5 or 6 Arsenal players were surrounding him. And then, by contrast, at the other end, when Arsenal decided to break, and especially the second goal right after half time, I said on a podcast the other night, it was as if Arsenal had gone into the crowd and asked 500 to come and help them score the goal, because it seemed like there were Arsenal players swarming all over the pitch. So it was just this Arsenal with and without the ball were a cut above Forest. And to be honest with you, I had not a creeping sense of dread, but a sense after Liverpool, Arsenal, unlike Liverpool, would definitely not take Forest lightly. So in a way, Forest made a rod for their own backs by beating Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool came to our place and were very poorly coached. They were psychologically weak. They basically disregarded Forest and they got what they deserved. And for their manager afterwards, who I'm told is one of the great managers, he showed no class. He was like a spoilt baby. It was us against ourselves. Well, that doesn't give any credit to us. Arteta, I'm sure Arteta and his lads and his staff would have watched every second of that Forest-Liverpool game, and Mikel Arteta would have said to them, they beat you in the FA Cup last January. They beat Liverpool last week. You do not take them lightly. And Arsenal, if you like, paid Forest respect by giving them a good hiding. And I had no complaint. I thought we'd get beat, because I just thought Arsenal are. My view is Arsenal are the second best team in the league. So if you like, at the moment, Forest have been to City. That's the hardest game. No disrespect to the others. We've been to Arsenal now, second hardest game. We've been to Newcastle. I think they're the third best team in the league at the moment. And so in a way, we've got a lot of our hard fixtures out of the way. But honestly, Dan, no complaints. The only complaint I've got, having gone to the Emirates, which is a fantastic stadium, is the vegan pasty that I bought for £8 in the away end. I'm telling you now, lads, if I'd have thrown it, somebody would have had a fractured skull. It's the worst food stuff I've ever had. Right. I was on Doors podcast the other night going on about this vegan pasty. Kevin Campbell was on, bless him, not to be a name dropper. And they were all like pissing themselves because I was going on about this vegan pasty. But no, it was if you love football, I mean, I saw my team play one of the best teams in the country at a fantastic stadium. We were beaten fair and square. It's done. It's unalterable history. And Brentford is next.
Well, it'll be interesting, won't it? Because, listen, I'll big up what you're saying about Arsenal and I respect it. And one thing I'll big up yourself, Dave, is this comment. Excuse me, from Kings. It says, that guy hides again. We'll come to that in a minute. When Forest lose and shows up when they win or draw. Dave, you the guy. Good win against Liverpool. Or hashtag good win against Liverpool. Of course.
Thank you, mate.
He's mentioning this guy. Dor is here. And to be fair, in his defense, I was going to invite Dor on tonight, actually. But because I was speaking to you beforehand, Dave, about the game and stuff on the WhatsApp message, I thought I'll stick with Dave tonight. And I didn't know if Dor was about or not. But This is why I love Dor, because he's got me involved with people like yourself and obviously Des as well. But
Yeah.
I will say this: I love Forest. I do. I've always liked them because they're a massive club. I like to, and people always say, "Why do you love other teams than Arsenal?" And it sounds really horrible saying this, but I can't like teams that I've ever been rivals with. So I hate Man United. I hate Chelsea. I hate Tottenham, of course. Even though I don't really see them as rivals, I just hate their fan base. And I'm starting to be very disgruntled over the last few years with Liverpool and Man City because they've been rivaling what we're trying to do, which is, of course, try to win stuff. But I've always liked Nottingham Forest, not just because they're not rivals of Arsenal, but also because I love the fan base. I think they're a huge club. I respect what they've done. I think Brian Clough, all I can do is talk about the clips I've seen of him. Never got to see him, unfortunately.
Well,
And I just think it's
Dan,
great that your fan base are loving and enjoying 23 years outside of it. And now you've got
yeah,
it back. And you're going
yeah.
home and away all over the country and loving it. And I love to see it, man.
Yeah, and the thing is, Dan, you know, we yearned for it and we craved it for 23 years, right? Back in well, a year ago from now, when we were like near the bottom of the championship, I would have even credited I'd be talking to you, lovely lads. Do you know what I mean? And it is a genuine pleasure. Let me just say that. So I never saw it coming. In March and April, I didn't want to say that it was coming because I didn't want to jinx it. And I only realized it was coming at 6:30 on Sunday, May the 29th, when the final whistle went. And then it took a while. Now I'm here. We're going to get some thumpings. Promoted teams into this division find it incredibly difficult. Now, for me, I mean, I've been accused of being a happy clapper by Forest fans. They want me to be devastated. They want me to be angry. They want me to be negative. They want me to kind of like chuck my toys out the pram. I'm 58 and a half. I'm not going to do that. You know, I'd like to think I'm relatively well educated, and I want people who meet me. I want, you know, like when I come on here, I want you lads to go away thinking, well, Dave's a decent lad from Forest, and if Dave's representative for the Forest fan base, then I want to kind of give a good feeling. And if I come on here, I don't really want to belittle anybody unless they have, unless they're kind of actually begging for it, and then I might gently in my way do. But you probably know what I'm on about. But I'm not gonna ever denigrate Liam or Billy, because I think there's really good things about Southampton. There's great things about Liverpool. I don't really hate anybody. I don't really hate Derby County because they're utterly irrelevant at the moment.
Why would you?
Know what I mean?
They're terrible.
Hey, what I would say, Dan, before I let the other lads in, and I must let them have a word. It's not fair to keep talking, but my thought at the weekend was I learned this fact that when Arsenal began, their first kit ever was lent to them by Nottingham Forest.
That's right.
And as events unfolded on Sunday, Dan, I thought, and this is the way the buggers pay us back. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what, mate? If you want us to help design your kits, we have got the best kits in the league, like by far. Like every year, like that was what it was. The last 2.5 years, I've been like, well, at least the kit's still the best. Do you know what I mean? Now it's like, the kit's good, and so's Arsenal. But yeah, listen, Adidas kits, you can't beat them, man. Adidas kits, wow, they're just wow, unbelievable. I will say, and I respect that, Dave, what you're saying totally about Arsenal. I want to bring Liam and Billy in, actually, so we don't really get to talk about Arsenal much. And seeing as some of the other guys aren't about tonight, I thought we have a chance just to look at what you think from a neutral point of view, your kind of realistic expectations are of Arsenal. Liam, come to you first because we played you not long ago, and actually you did really well against us, mate, and obviously made it very difficult for us. And perhaps you played us at a time where we weren't quite at it, but at the same time, you do deserve credit for it. But I remember speaking to you when I was with me, yourself and Lee Judges talking about it, saying, Arsenal looks so good. That front three scares me, blah, blah, blah. But like, when you look at what Arsenal have done against Forest and against some of the other clubs, do you think that it's sustainable this season, or is that yet to be kind of, are we yet to be seriously questioned of the last few weeks, mate?
No, I definitely feel like you'll be up there. I think you're definitely going to get top four. I think the only thing that worried me was like obviously a bit of injuries, like when Saka does get injured. I know Reece Nelson had a brilliant game on Sunday, but when has he last really played for Arsenal? Yeah, I mean, like a big injury to Saka could really ruin you. But it's like I said on Sunday, I think you were due after the last couple of games. You were due to batter someone, and unfortunately that was Forest. And unfortunately, you played the right team, as they would say. It's like I really do think Arsenal will get top four, and I think they'll go quite far in Europa League as well. But I think your main thing is, like Carabao Cup and stuff like that, just you need to get to like the quarters, FA Cup. I think you do that. Then I think Europa League, will they focus more on getting top four? Is that more realistic than winning the Europa League? I don't see why you can't win it as well. So, yeah, I think Arsenal have a good season. I think they'll be in better next year. And I don't think they're title contenders this year, even though they've been the second best team in the league. No, or the best team in the league, to be fair to them. Because I think Man City just have that age. But next year, definitely 100% be challenging for that title.
And do you think, Liam, that's just literally down to squad depth? Like, say next season we buy, let's say we're 5 or 6 players better off next season. Do you think that's why you then put us in a title race?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, like if you get a big injury to like Martinelli or Saka or Jesus Erdegaard, you're in trouble because you don't really have many. Whereas like City, say if they got an injury to De Bruyne, they bring in Bernardo Silva. It's no problem. That's I think the only thing that let Arsenal down. But I think you'll cover that up in January because I saw some with Edu earlier saying they're giving the money in January because they like seeing you obviously at the top of the league. They think we're going to sustain this. We need more players. So 100%, I think squad depth is the only worry for you lot because you play fantastic football and it's a great joy. It's a great joy.
No, fair play, man. And, it's nice to hear people talking nice things about Arsenal. It's been a while, trust me. Justifiably so, by the way. We have not been good to watch over the last few years. But, Billy, you've always been pretty honest when it comes to Arsenal, mate. We've been speaking for a couple of seasons now, to be fair. And you were honest when things weren't going right. To be fair to you, I don't think you've ever come out and said you need to get rid of Arteta. He's hopeless. You can't see anything. I think you've always been fairly realistic about where he's trying to go with it. And perhaps it's been me over the years that's been too harsh at times. But what I will say is that when you look this season and this season alone, there's not many bad things you can say about this club at the moment, is there, Bill?
Not at all. And I think the only thing that you can really say bad about them is the squad depth, really. And I mean, I was just there looking at the table as you was going through it. Yeah, you're 2 points clear at the top. And I mean, you've got a tough game this week against Chelsea. And then you've got Wolves, while Man City have obviously got Fulham and Brentford. But Chelsea are a beatable side this season as well. Like you could quite easily go into the World Cup break, the top of the table, and then all of a sudden things are really starting to look positive. I suppose it's just how you then bounce back after the World Cup. You'll obviously have to get a few additions in January to add to the squad depth. And I think being top of the table is gonna entice players in, isn't it? Of course it is. So I think you'll have that pull as well. It's no longer enticing players into the project. You're now at the peak of the project. You're now going for it all. And I think, like Liam said again, you'll have good competition, cup run, sorry. I think there's no reason at all why you can't win the Europa League. I think that's got to be an aim for you. Well, I think silverware, some sort of silverware will be the aim. And I don't see why you can't go and get the Europa League. I look at the rest of the teams in the Europa League, and Arsenal's the one that stands out. Really, you're top of the Premiership for starters, and just the way that you're just playing fantastic, attacking, free flowing football. It's a brilliant watch. I've been a big critic of Man City for the past couple of seasons in particular, because you're just watching the same game on repeat. It's sideways pass. Let's break teams down. This season, they've been a little bit more exuberant, if you like, going for it with Haaland up front. They've conceded a few more goals. But Arsenal are that team. You're such a good team to watch. And I can really see you, whether you get the title or not is a different story. It's going to be a seriously tough to do that. And I don't think you will do it. I've got to be totally honest. But you're going to be up there competing. And it's refreshing to see another name up there, to be honest with you. You've had Man City and Liverpool for the past 5-6 years now. It's good to see another name up there, whether it be Arsenal, Chelsea, United, Spurs, if you want to add them in there as well. But it's just nice to see another name split those two. And you're not just doing it in the traditional buying players way. You know what you mean? You're not splashing your cash to it. You started from the bottom. Now you're here, and you can only credit Arsenal for that and what Mikel Arteta's done as well. I was a little bit of a critic of him. I've never said that he has to go. I've always thought, well, maybe he's got a couple of games to really prove himself, and obviously Edu and that have stuck through with him. But I mean, look what he's done now. Arteta's the one that you look at for a project. He was the one that I was looking at when Gerrard was here. But if Gerrard can turn this around, look what Arteta's done, given the time and the patience and the money. He's that guy now that you look at and you look, wow. Like if you give this manager time and patience, look what he can turn into. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for Gerrard, but he's a top manager, and I don't think any of us, even yourself, Dan, can deny that now.
No, and there's been times where I've been absolutely livid with him over the last couple and a half years, and I think sometimes when you look at what people are trying to want in football, sometimes it's different things. And my biggest thing, I had no doubt that Arteta was going to get better. I didn't think he was going to be a top level manager because I didn't see enough evidence of that. But no doubt he was going to get better. I just didn't want to take it this long. And I already waited 18 years to try and win something. And I'm talking about win a title, by the way, not a Carabao Cup. So when I look at it, I was like, okay, I want somebody to come in now who's going to win. And I wanted it like a Simeone or a Conte or something like that who could just win now, not wait 5 years, get Yoza youngsters again. We've done that. We did it with Fabregas and Van Persie, didn't win anything. We did it with Wilshere and Ramsey, didn't win anything. We did. We won FA Cups, but you get what I'm saying. When I look at the titles in the Champions League, I just didn't see it happening with this manager. Now he's starting to show a glimmer of hope. Now, I still think there's a long way to go, by the way. We're not even halfway through the season. But certainly at the moment, if you was to say to me and anybody on this panel, Arsenal going to be top of the league by the time the World Cup returns, you would all go, you're joking. Like before a ball was kicked, I reckon most of you would have said 4th, 5th Arsenal, something like that. So to do what we've done now is just incredible. And I know we've got a little bit lucky with lack of injuries, and everyone's talking about what do they do without Partey? What happens if Jesus goes out? What's the matter with Saka now? He's got a knock. He's fit, by the way, which is great news for us. But good. I look at it now and you think, what is it going to be for Arsenal this season now? And I really hope, a little bit similarly to Newcastle, and I was speaking to Pete about this, now that Newcastle have got a chance of a top 4, they might not get it, but they've all got a chance. And Arsenal have got a chance, might not get it, of a title. We need to go and spend in January, both of these sides. And Newcastle will, I have no doubt. They've got billions to spend, right? But Arsenal need to. And if we don't now, I'll be really devastated that we don't do that. Because for me, there's an opportunity to try and get as close as we can to Man City. And it's there. It's gaping. I didn't expect the fall off from Liverpool. I definitely didn't see Chelsea sacking Tuchel. I did not see Spurs being inconsistent under Conte. And I'll still say this. Conte is doing ridiculously well with some of them players. I'll tell you this now. They look awful. Some of them players, oh my God, at the back particularly, no disrespect to you, Liam, but I think they struggle to get into Southampton's back line. Some of them, they're that poor, mate.
I said to you a couple of weeks ago, you and Lee, I think the only thing that's really stopping you from getting title charge is keeping Zinchenko fit. I think he's honestly that good. Not just that good. I think the way you play now, you see it with City with those inverted fullbacks, the way Cancelo and Walker just fucking do what they want. Sorry, excuse my language. But
no, it's cool.
Zinchenko and Ben White, it's actually perfect because Ben White's a natural centre back anyway, so he's actually going to chip in. Zinchenko just does what he wants. That's the only problem I think you have with. I think he's playing Tomiyasu at left back because he can coincide on this right. I don't think he trusts Tierney enough to do that sort of job. I think if you keep Zinchenko fit for the rest of the season, I think you'll be second and definitely going for it.
The teams I've seen, I've been to every Forest game now, and I've seen sort of 4 of the top, the usual big 6. And to me, Arsenal are clearly the second best. I do think, as the boys have both said, Liam and Billy, and they're both spot on. I just feel, Dan, that they've got a really good 11, 12, 13, 14. And then, Reece Nelson did wonderful things when he came on Sunday. But with all due respect to us, we're the bottom team in the league, right? A promoted side. we are the big novices. We're the learners. We're trying to find our way, right? Now, will Reece Nelson do that against some of the big guns? I don't know. So I think spending in January is an imperative for Arsenal. But where my compare and contrast of Arsenal, actually, you can almost bookend it through Nottingham Forest, in that my two sightings of Arsenal this calendar year, one was in January and one was on Sunday. Now, I also watched and actually really enjoyed the Arsenal documentary, the All or Nothing, which I thought, unlike ones that had gone previously, I thought it gave a really good feel, a sincere feel about Arsenal's squad, and particularly about what a classy, incredibly intelligent, incredibly articulate man Mikel Arteta is, right? You know, Pep Guardiola would not have had him as his right-hand man if Mikel Arteta was some kind of, you know, dum-dum. But what I couldn't stop thinking about, amongst all the other torments I was suffering between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock on Sunday, was the Arteta when he came into the changing room at the City ground after Forest had won 1-0. And all the Arsenal lads sat there, and Mikel came in, and Mikel started to swear, which just didn't feel right for Mikel Arteta to swear. And he was saying to him, "You're effing this, you're effing that, you're effing." And then he basically stomped out the changing room, the City ground, slammed the door, and they all sat there, Arsenal, sort of silent for 2 or 3 minutes before I think Granit Xhaka said, "Right, well, that's us told, let's move on." You know what I mean? And so to compare that Arsenal that came to the City ground in January, when we were a championship club and was so passive and allowed it to, I mean, in that game, the left back, whose name escapes me, was taken off after half an hour because
Tavares.
Because Brennan basically burst out of his chest, alien style. Do you know what I mean? So the how far Arsenal have come, if you like, in, I don't know, 9 months, it is actually quite astonishing. And I think what I like is, as well, they stuck with Arteta. I'm kind of hoping that, you know, in the same way that Arsenal stuck with Arteta and are beginning to see shoots of something, you know, a recovery from this last few years of mediocrity, that you'll get a kind of a parallel with Steve, with us. You know, there are some who want him out, but these are the sort of people who want to change of manager after every single defeat. They're the ones who believe that they have a divine right. These people who believe that Nottingham Forest had a divine right to go to Arsenal and win. It's not going to happen. I mean, touching on the big six, Chelsea, I think, is still trying to find an identity. But the ones who really took me by surprise, and I thought they were just ripe for mockery, were Liverpool. What is Klopp doing? Has Klopp, I mean, you know, Liverpool came, when James Milner is your best outlet and your best player, and James Milner at the last, I think he's 125. I don't know. Billy might know because he was at the Villa. Did he play for the Villa with Pongo Waring, Billy, and Frank Barr? I looked. James Milner played alongside Peter McParland in the 1957 FA Cup final. He broke Ray Wood's neck. Anyway, I digress. But Liverpool came along, and they were just like, we were sat in the Trenton going, this lot think it's just going to happen. And I think Liverpool, I mean, Saturday tea time, after watching the Fulham Everton game, which actually I didn't think was a bad game, even though it was 0-0. I watched Liverpool, and I wanted Liverpool, from a purely Forest aspect, to beat Leeds, to keep Leeds closer to us. But after about 10 or 15 minutes, I was rooting for Leeds United, because I looked at, they want to play for Jesse Marsh. They are honest, and that lot inside Anfield are like sitting back, well, we're Liverpool and it'll just happen. And I thought, I mean, Joe Gomez's back pass was a thing of wonder. He didn't think so, but I loved it. You know, so I looked at Liverpool and I just saw complacency, arrogance, aloof, and they need a bomb up their backsides. And Klopp, if Klopp was at St Mary's, or he'd been at Villa Park, good lads like Liam and Billy would want him out, because he rises. What kind of manager, and I'm going to get on my high horse now, what kind of manager gets a red card when his team are beating the best team in the league, the best team in the land? You get sent off when you're beating Manchester City. Yeah, get sent off if you're like losing to Leeds United. but not when your team are playing well against Manchester City. And I think I've had Jurgen Klopp sold to me as a man of dignity and intelligence, and I don't see it. I mean, the big for me, we saw the Liverpool team buses leave the City ground after that game, and I reckon those buses went round Nottingham for about 5 hours because nobody could find Mo Salah. He went missing. I think he was wandering around the meadows or something. He might have even been rowing down the Trent, but he did nothing. And Jurgen Klopp should be getting a player as great as that and making him good. And I think Liverpool are a psychological shambles. I don't think the others are as bad as Liverpool. You know, we're bottom on 9 points. Liverpool are only 7 ahead of us. They're nearer to the bottom than they are the top. And I'm clinging, I'm clutching at straws, lads.
No,
and
that's
I'm
brilliant.
And what I'm doing, lads, is I'm being, if you like, satirical about it, because our situation demands that I have to find the funny side of it, right? But Liverpool, obviously, Liverpool support, obviously, I look at Southampton. They've got really good things happening. I love Armstrong. I think Stuart Armstrong. I think Elianusi's playing well. They've got good guys you've not heard of who are playing well. The Villa, there's so much that needs to be unlocked with the Villa, right? But what Southampton aren't, and what Arsenal definitely aren't, and what Villa aren't, and I don't think my lot are, they're not complacent. And Liverpool, to me, are the most complacent team I've seen all season. And I thought, when we beat them, I thought, yeah, fair enough, you deserve. And then he came out, Thomas Frank lost at Villa 4-0. And the first words out of his mouth after that game were, well played, Aston Villa. He had class. Klopp never mentioned Nottingham Forest, and he was disrespectful. So, yeah, I think Liverpool, what would do Liverpool would be a run in the Europa Conference, bring them back, bring them down to size a bit,
Well, look, they're heading that way at the moment. I'll tell you that, the way it's going. I will agree with you. I think Klopp is one of the saltiest managers. Like, there's a lot
Absolutely.
I like about him. Like, don't get me wrong. I can accept and admit when someone's good, but there's a lot of saltiness that comes from him when he loses games, and it actually becomes quite embarrassing to listen to at times in his interviews. But that's another story. Let's move on to Aston Villa, Bill, because I know that Emery's come in, but he weren't in yet. Did you want him to come in at the weekend so he could try and sort things out?
If only, man. If only. No, it's one to forget the weekend. It was back to a very Gerrard-esque performance, really.
Was it Villa, though, or was it Newcastle? Which way around was it?
Being totally honest, it was a little bit of both. I'm not totally sold on Newcastle just yet.
Okay.
And the reasons for that are, the bits that I was impressed on are how they work as a team, how they press. Everyone presses as a team. They move as a 10, obviously excluding Nick Pope. They move very well, and they do force mistakes, obviously. But I think the major thing in that game was just how bad Villa were in the second half. It was the first half. We had a couple of injuries. We had Martinez go down a couple of times because of concussion. Thankfully, he's okay now. And that the time in that, it took a bit of the sting out of St. James's Park. It kind of, everyone was a little bit annoyed, or they were anyway, a little bit annoyed at how long it was taking. And they didn't really get the atmosphere back up in that first half. So I think they were a bit lucky. It was a clear penalty at the end of the first half. It was a clear penalty. Ashley Young was saying that it came off him, which I could only laugh at the time because it was the most blatant penalty you will ever see. We've had a lot of controversy with handball this season, but that was always being given as a penalty, unfortunately. I think going into half time at 0-0 would have made a big difference. Saying that, it did feel very much like, from a Villa perspective, in that second half, there was no real tactical, again, under Gerrard, like I've said several times, there was no tactical awareness. It felt very much like, lads, Unai Emery's through the door, go out and express yourselves, like, just try and do your best. And it feels like a little bit, that's kind of what Gerrard did, because there was they just dismantled us in the second half, and credit to them. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. They absolutely battered us in the second half. They fully deserved the win. But I think if we'd have been really up for it, then, and I think as well, I mentioned obviously then Martinez, the concussion, he had to come off. I think that had a lot to play on it. I don't think we'd have won. Martinez can't dictate what goes on at the top end of the pitch, but I don't think we'd have conceded 4, and I don't think it had been as bad of a battering as it probably was. But yeah, it's time to move on from that. We've got Man United at the weekend, which is going to be a very tough ask. No, it's at Villa Park, actually. Emery's, believe it or not, Emery's first 2 games are against Man United. First one at Villa Park, and the second one's in the FA Cup. We've got 7,000 going up there. So
Carabao Cup, isn't it? Carabao
yes,
Cup, you mean?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. That's the one. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a fantastic atmosphere. Everyone's going to be up for it. I actually saw a stat the other day that Villa have been the best performing team compared to their away performances this season at home. So in comparison to how bad we've been away, our home form's actually been quite good. So I'm hoping with Emery coming through the door and the tactical madman that he is, I'm really hoping that we'll be able to get the atmosphere up and the players will perform to how he wants to.
You're excited by this, Billy, aren't you? You're excited.
I am really excited, yeah, because I think we've got all the parts to a Ferrari. We just haven't had the we haven't had the mechanic to put them all together yet. And I really feel like Emery can get the best out of these parts. His CV speaks for itself. He's a top manager. Whether you want to call him elite or not is down to you. But what you can't deny is that he's a top manager. And I've said before,
mate. Yeah,
exactly. I said last week that he's I've just forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry, mate.
That's right. Sorry. No, he's people say that last time he was in England, it was a failure, but he finished on 70 points, 1 point away from the Champions League in his only full season. How, on reflection, how can that be deemed a failure? Exactly. How can that be deemed a failure on reflection? You know, so.
Because I think what it is, Billy, is so if that was with Villa, you'd say, "Whoa, get him in," but because it was with Arsenal. We were demanding the best, and obviously it ain't the best, is it? That?
Course,
so I get what you're saying.
I think the thing is as well, he was following Arsene Wenger.
Oh, of course,
That's another
with the
thing.
squad he had as well to get that way.
Exactly. Yeah. This is what I mean. On reflection, this is how I'm certainly looking at it. For the past 2 or 3 years, or since Emery anyway, it's always been about trying to get that top 4 back. It's not necessarily been challenging titles. This is the first real year Arsenal have been challenging for the title since Wenger's left. So in terms of that, he was so close to getting you top 4, which is what you've been craving for since Wenger. And that's what I mean when I say on reflection, he actually did a really good job. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do with us. We've got two good games. We've got obviously in the league anyway, the United game at the weekend, and then the final game before the World Cup, we're away at Brighton, which is going to be a tough game again. But I'm really hoping this new manager bounce thing can carry us through. We can get at least 4 points, I would like to think, from those games with the manager bounce, obviously, and a trip in the Carabao Cup as well to top it off. So, and then we've got the World Cup break as well, of course, where we'll be able to focus in on the players, get to know them. We've got a trip to Dubai, I believe it is, something like that, a little camp over there. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the beast unleashing, hopefully.
could be a good timing for you as well, man, with Emery coming in a couple of games and then he's got that break for the World Cup to work with people and get his ideas across. And I think it's a really good bit of business. Like I never rated Gerrard. I still don't. I don't think he'll go on to do anything. And personally, Unai Emery is, I'd say 5, maybe even 6 times better than Gerrard can even imagine it being.
And the rest.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, mate, I think it's a good appointment, and I think that you'll do some bits. Just lastly, before I move to Liam, excuse me, I wanted to ask you about the expectation now that he's come in, because you got to be realistic, but you're excited, and I get that. What would be a good season from where you are now to where Emery could take you, do you think?
I think, to be honest with you, it's what I hope is, I'm still hoping for a top 10 finish. I think everyone bangs on about how Newcastle gave everyone a 19 game head start or something last season. You look at kind of where Villa are now, and I don't see why we couldn't do a similar kind of thing. We're not in anywhere near as bad position as what Newcastle were, which is why I still think a top half finish is attainable. So that's what I'm hoping anyway. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be too disappointed with an 11th, 10th, 11th, 12th, finish. I think I'd just like to see us start playing some nice football and show that we can adapt in games. You know, if something's not going our way, stop waiting until the 65th minute to make a sub. I think Emery was one of the top managers for changing things if something's not working. So at half time, something's not working, he'll make that change instantly. Whereas for the past 2-3 managers that Villa have had, it's always been 65 minutes. And then we'll try and do something. Well, then it's too late, isn't it? That's what I'm really looking forward to more than anything. I do think that we can still get that top 10 finish, because January, he's going to bring in some of his players as well. Another thing is, I saw that this is Villa's longest managerial contract that we've ever given to a manager in our history. I think it's only about 4.5 years or something.
Project manager,
exactly. So we're patient with it, or the club are certainly patient with it. They believe that Emery's going to achieve here. And I think that the fact that we're giving him that backing, and his CV speaks for itself this time. We're not just getting a manager from Rangers who's had that one managerial job. No one really knows an awful lot about him. We've got a top manager here. And it is a project, and I'm excited to see where it takes us.
Yeah, my mum's in the chat, bless her. She's saying the same. He'll be hungry to prove himself in the Premier League. Listen, I think she's right as well. I think he will be. Sometimes when you get that, he actually got treated quite badly by some Arsenal fans, Unai Emery. Like in terms of them taking the mick out of him with the good evening thing, and there's no communication. Or that's absolute rubbish for me. Like there was a lot of good that he did. He had to go, in my opinion. Things weren't going, down tools on him, etc. He lost the dressing room. He had to go, but he will do well at Villa, I have no doubt, because everywhere he's gone, he's actually done half decent, man. So his CV is all good. 8th, 9th, 10th positions, I can't predict it. I do think I know the top 7. I think it'll be the big 6 plus Newcastle in 7th. I do think that will stay. I don't think anyone will jump in it. I think Liverpool will get it right eventually and be in and around that. Likewise, Chelsea. I don't know who's coming 8th, 9th, or 10th, though. I ain't going to lie. So I would say that was very realistic for many teams to go into that top half this season, because it's a mad time, and the World Cup's going to make it even madder. So fair play to you, man.
I think that's going to be the big thing, how teams react after the World Cup and how teams get on after the World Cup. So it's a long break. You know, I asked Pete the question last week how he thinks that does he think the World Cup will kind of take that momentum out of Newcastle. So it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, the first time that something like this has ever happened. So we've got a couple of games before the January transfer window. All of a sudden, teams can start making changes, getting players in, shooing players away as well. So that's going to be huge this season, I think, because it may give Klopp a time to reflect. It may give Guardiola a time to reflect. It might give Eddie Howe a time to reflect and maybe continue to get things right, or it might be a little bit of a, oh God, we were doing really well. This has come at the worst possible time for us. It could happen, go either way, I think, for Newcastle. So it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out.
Yeah, man, 100%. Liam, I want to talk a little bit about yourselves because obviously you had a half decent result against Arsenal and thought, yeah, we could take some confidence from that. And then against Palace, it just didn't look great again. So it's like inconsistencies, rough, Hassan Hoot all over, really. I stand by it. I don't think he's going to get sacked. I stand by it. I think that he will be there because I just think he's going to be taking Southampton where in and around where I think they should be. But I can understand the frustration at the same time that 1 minute you're getting a good result, next minute it's looking bad again. What you're going to get next week, you just don't know. Your guy, that wrestler at the back, I can't remember his name again. Liako, is it? He got another yellow card. He is absolute monster. He is, mate. I tell you, I can see why you like him though, because that's the sort of player everybody wants a Martin Keown, don't they, in their side? Do you know what I mean? And he is just a nightmare like that. But I must admit, man, it's looking weird for you guys. I don't really know what to say about Southampton this season, if you get me. I don't know if to say, wow, it's looking great in parts, or wow, 4 or 5 players and you'll be okay. Ralph needs to go. Ralph needs to stay. I'm well confused, man. So how are you feeling, bro?
It's a really difficult situation being, like I said to you, like, it's just, thing is, we get really good results with West Ham, Bournemouth and Arsenal, but I said to you, they weren't great performances. We got points, but I don't think we've had a single game this season where I looked at it and I thought we were amazing. Apart from the game against Chelsea and probably the second half against Arsenal, it's like we seem to can't get the best out of our players. We don't seem to be that same team that presses and gives every anymore and takes risks and stuff like that. I don't know whether that's to do with confidence or whether that's Ralph saying, "Look, just keep it simple," or I don't know. I just feel like the players don't believe in Ralph anymore, and I think that's the big concern for me now because I'm thinking we got 2 games left until the World Cup. At 17 for a point above the relegation zone. Our next 2 games are Newcastle and Liverpool away. So it's like I'm not got great confidence thinking, yeah, we're going to be in. We will be above the relegation zone because I don't think we're going to get a single point. I think we're going to get smacked. I think we'll end up 19th. Before the World Cup probably is. That's not good because I think if we're in the relegation zone, he's got, I don't know what it is. We got 6 weeks until our next game after that, and you think you've either got to back him or sack him. And I don't know what the club are thinking. I don't think any Saints fan at the moment particularly believes that Ralph is going to get these players going again because I feel like he's completely lost it. And I think that's the way we felt on Saturday. I felt bad for him because we get a striker in for him, and that cost us the game on Saturday. We were poor in the first half. Second half, we were so much better, but we missed 2 key chances with Adams. Where if we get a proper striker in like Danny Ings, that'd be 2 on Saints, and that cost us the game. And it's dreadful. It just doesn't feel great. We've scored a couple of goals away from home all season, and it's just. Honestly, man, it's just boring now. I get bored of it.
And you know what? I feel the frustration and I get it, man. And it's hard for me sometimes to relate. And I don't mean this is a dig or a big-headed thing, but I've never been down there and I don't know what it feels like. So I can't relate, if that makes sense. I can't say, oh, yeah, I remember when I was down there. It's absolute hell. It's awful. I've been very fortunate in my time growing up. I started supporting Arsenal around 1992. So we were always up there challenging. We never have been any lower than a Champions League or European place. So I can't relate what it's like to be scraping 17th place on the last day of the season. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what that's like. But I can understand why it's frustrating and not always enjoyable. But I want to ask you this because Mark did ask this the other week and I didn't bring it up. Big up, Mark. Says, Liam, I asked a question on the 12th Man podcast a few weeks back about Stuart Armstrong to another Saints fan, as I've watched the kid since he was 15 years old. Gutted he scored against Arsenal, but how do you rate him?
No, I really like Stu. Like, I think he's a fantastic player. He's probably one of our many quality players that have got in the squad. The only thing that lacks about Stu, especially this season, is his work rate. When he's on the ball, he's fantastic. He's a great dribbler, great passer, and he gives us that cutting edge sometimes, like with the finish against Arsenal. But the only problem about him is keeping fit and probably his work rate. And that's the only thing that concerns me at the moment this season. But obviously, Arsenal's a fantastic player, and when he's on the pitch, he reads as well for us. But yeah, he's a difficult one. He's getting on a bit now, so it's like he's playing less minutes, which is understandable. But it's like I don't think he'll have many years left with us. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Stu. Really like him.
Very intelligent guy, Liam. Law degree.
He was on
probably the most
sports
educated guy in the division.
He was on that BT Sports short goal show they have on with the Champions League. He was on it earlier. I think he was doing the Celtic game or something. I was like, couldn't believe that. But yeah, Stu's fantastic. He's a great.
Yeah, I watched a clip on YouTube, mate, and it was the day he signed for Southampton, like his first day with Southampton. And I listened to him talk, and he is not your average footballer. Stuart Armstrong is an incredibly intelligent, academically gifted man, and he's the sort of guy that he's a Premier League footballer. That's fantastic. But if he wasn't a footballer, he would have a very successful career in another sphere of life. And I like that. You know what I mean?
He doesn't look Scottish either. Like when you look at him, you think he just doesn't look Scottish. Yeah, I mean, you look at
what? So he should have ginger hair and a Tam O'Shanter.
Yeah, man. He's got a lovely trim, got a great smile. And you think, bloody hell.
I like him. I really like him as well, and I do think he deserves a lot of credit, man. But I want to ask you this, Liam, because I only know a few Southampton fans. There's not many that I know. I know obviously Dan and yourself and a couple of others, and like whenever we talk about players, the one player I like never gets a mention, right? I always talk about who'd you play? Oh, Kyle Walker-Peters. Oh, okay, yeah, he's all right. Shea Adams. Oh, yeah, no, he's pretty good. Nobody says James Ward-Prowse, man. I don't get that. Like for me, the kid is like sick. Like I'd take him tomorrow. I think he's so good, man. And I wanted to ask you how he's been this year because I haven't really heard any Southampton fans mention him. Is his performance
not scored a free
now
kick,
like
Dan? That's
typical?
why.
Is that what it is? I was just going to say that. No set piece like delivered. Is that what it is?
Exactly.
So, honestly, I think this kid is so good, man, and so underrated. And I can see why Southgate I don't like Southgate, by the way. I don't want to go in that convo, but I think I can see why Ward-Prowse picks him. And Southgate picks Ward-Prowse. And for me, I just love everything about this lad. And I'm going to say this now. I think he's got the best right foot, or one of, in the Premier League. I think he's a wicked player, man. And I never hear the mentions anymore, man. It's like he's just don't play for anyone anymore.
No, I'll tell you what. Prowse hasn't had the greatest of seasons this year. But look, and he does get a lot of credit from the St. Signs this year, but I just don't understand because he's kept us up for the last how many years, and we literally called him Mr. Consistent because he's so good. He gives everything. He has probably, I'd say, one of the best right foots in the Premier League. I don't think you see a better set piece taker in the world. But he just goes under the radar. And like you said earlier about Southgate picking him, but I don't think he's going to go to the World Cup. I really don't. Because he gets in every single squad and didn't get picked for the Euros, which is just disgraceful, by the way. How the hell he's not going? And he gets picked for every other squad, and he'll go, perhaps he's thinking, oh, finally my time to go to the World Cup. And he'll go, yeah, sorry, man, I picked you for all these squads, but I'm just going to let you down as usual. When you need someone to come on, when you're doing crap, and the only thing you're looking about scoring is from set pieces, get James Ward-Prowse on it, slap Harry Maguire on last minute, and get his fat head on it, and we win the fucking World Cup. You know what I mean?
You know what? It really annoyed me when Villa had Grealish. We was linked with Ward-Prowse really heavily, and I was gutted that we didn't just say take the money, because the amount of fouls that Grealish would win, and having someone like James Ward-Prowse, that's 10 points a season at least, isn't it?
We found it so insulting when you lot put in, we'll give you 25 million. I was like, all right, then we'll offer 10
we
for
did
Grealish.
Yeah, you know I mean? we did the same with Arsenal for Smith Rowe as well. That Oh man, that it really annoyed me. We should have just paid the
Smith
40,
Rowe.
50 million, however much
Where
it
were
was.
you thinking? What were you thinking
One
there
like
with Smith
80.
Rowe?
Oh, don't get me started, mate.
Can we have Smith? Can we have Smith Rowe? We'll give you a Kit Kat and 20 million. It's just like
honestly, it back when we were in the Championship, Spurs offered us 2 million and Josh Onumar for Jack Grealish. It's exactly the same situation, isn't it, for both of you? It's
unbelievable, man. It is unbelievable. But listen, I do feel like with Southampton that they will be okay. It's still hard to predict who's going to go down because it's early. I get that, and it's all really close. Like Dave's just said, Liverpool are only a few points off Forest. It's mad. So like you can't sit there and say that they're blatantly obvious free in my opinion. But I still don't have Southampton going down there. You know, I really don't. I just feel.
I think the key thing for us is that we have injuries coming back, especially after the World Cup. Look, Armel, Chubby's back in training this week. Lavia's
player.
back in training, so they should both be fit for Sunday, which is
Walker
absolute
Peters,
bonus
he's
for
got
us.
to be
So
back.
they are
soon,
two
he?
best players, and a lot of people forget we still have Tino Livramento coming back after the World Cup. We have
Oh, yeah,
Walker
good player.
Peters come back after the World Cup, so it's like when those key players are fit, I think we'll be fine. It's just keeping them fit, and I think that's cost us a lot. Lavia is just. He's the next best thing, honestly. I think he's going to be the best DM in the world in a few years' time. I rate him that highly. I can tell
good player.
why. I can tell why Pep didn't want to sell him. But it's like you got Rodri, your best CDM in the world, and you think Navi is going to be this next best thing. And you go, oh, I'm just going to buy Calvin Phillips. This is why like kids won't develop under Pep because they just go, yeah, we trust you, but we're just going to spend another 50 million on someone else. And Calvin Phillips has played 3 Premier League minutes all season. You can't keep an injury to save his life. He's the next Jack Wilshere. What's the point? You know what I mean? Like, and he'll still end up going to the World Cup over Ward-Prowse, who's played like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, fire, but it's like
that is facts.
It's
That
it's
is
so
facts.
frustrating. But
I think
yeah.
James Ward-Prowse, Liam. What I love about James Ward-Prowse is James Ward-Prowse goes about his business. He's an unflashy, decent lad. He's a proper human being. James gives everything for his club. He steps up. He takes his free kicks. I think James Ward-Prowse would be a manager's dream. You said to James Ward, if Ralph says to James Ward-Prowse, mate, I need you to do me a job in any position on the field. James Ward-Prowse being the fantastic lad that he is, and I really admire him. He doesn't go seeking glory. He doesn't want the spotlight. So we're saying he's not getting any, but I don't think that bothers James. James just goes about his business right. He'd be in my England team every time because he's versatile. And if you want a guy to take a free kick,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not being awful to Bukayo because I love Bukayo, but had James Ward-Prowse taken that penalty against Italy, my guess is that maybe James would have stuck it away. So I love James Ward-Prowse, but in a way, James's unselfishness to his teammates and to his club and to his fans probably means that he doesn't get that sort of spotlight. But I'll tell you what, mate, if you say the name James Ward-Prowse to anybody who supports any club or any pundit, they're going to speak highly of him. So I don't think, he might not be great at the moment, but I tell you what, Billy said that he would have had him. I would love him at Forest. I think he's a smashing lad and a really good player. He's somebody
I'd have him at Arsenal. Honestly, I would.
Yeah. He's a
I
don't think there's a team in
so
the
fact
league
he's
that wouldn't have him.
doing all this to the Saints is brilliant.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Massive
Liam,
Pompey fan. His dad and that got season tickets, stuff like that. Now they all
wow. Oh mate, that is class. Just quickly, Liam, as well, because I wanted to ask you about. So I watched Southampton this season really early on, and you were terrible against Spurs. I think it was typical. In the first game, I think it was, and then after that, a couple of games, I knew Joe Aribo, and I knew some of the others that were coming through, the Bella Kotchup, all those kind of things. There was one lad, and I think his name was Mara.
Yeah, Sekou Mara.
Yeah, I liked him, man. I liked him a lot, and I only watched little bits of it on Match of the Day and all that. I thought for 20 years old, whatever he is, French, I think he is, isn't he? He looks like he's got something about him. Is he still about? Is he injured or?
Yeah, no, he's just gradually getting in. Like he's only a young kid. He moved from Bordeaux. He's 20 years old. Like I think against Leeds, he's probably. I don't know if you lot saw the goal from Kyle Walker-Peters, but for me, it's probably the assist of the season. It's one of the best passes I've ever seen. It's a no-look pass, and he's nutmegged like 2 people. I think he's a great kid. He played for the under-23s the other day and he scored 4 goals. So it's like we know he's a goal scorer. He's got to
I
take
like
time.
what I
He's only
saw,
a
man.
kid. But I think
Sometimes you use the eye test. Do you know what I mean? And you think you got something about
I
you.
think
Do you know
I
what
think
mean?
on Sunday I think he'll play up top with Adams. I think he deserves a chance. We got nothing to lose. We haven't scored many goals this season, so we need something. And I think he's a good kid. I just think we need to take the pressure off someone like him, someone like Adam Armstrong. We still need to buy a forward in January, but just to take the pressure off because we're not scoring a lot of goals. And Adams, we kind of capitulated it on Saturday where he had 2 golden chances, and because he isn't this natural goal scorer, he didn't score. Whereas when he was playing with Danny Ings, he was the provider for Ings, and Ings was that opportunist where all you need for him was putting the final touch, and that's why we were so good because Adams created, Ings finished, and now Adams is having to create and finish at the same time. So it's like we just need a natural goal scorer, then I think we'll be okay. I think that's the only thing we need.
Fair play, man. Listen, we all said that Fulham will stay up if Mitrovic turns up, and he has done this season. And if he didn't, they'd be right down there, wouldn't they? So fair play, man.
Exactly.
Sometimes that's all you need is a goal scorer in your team that consistently is banging them in. Boys, absolute pleasure, man. Much appreciate you all coming on yet again. Matty texted me earlier, by the way, and said he's not going to make it. Works held him up, and he's not about, but he'll be on next time, and the others will as well. Be a bit of shuffling around next week because of all the Carabao Cup games that are now in play. Literally every single week, I'm thinking, how can I get a regular slot on these shows of all these football matches that we're supposed to be talking about that are happening while we're supposed to be talking about them? It's mad. But there we go. Dave, thank you so much for coming on again, mate. I much enjoyed it, and thank you for your honesty. And bigging up Arsenal, man.
Pleasure, Dan. Lovely to see you, lads. It's a real honour to come on and talk about my club and actually talk about other clubs as well. I just the one thing I would say as we leave this one is, would it be nice in future seasons not to talk about a World Cup break in bloody November? I'm sick of it, honestly. And I don't know what you lads feel, but and it's probably a whole conversation we could have in another meeting. But I really cannot get excited about 32 very mediocre international teams in a country that really shouldn't have it, and a lot of very, very poor moral issues over there. So I'm going to miss our chats about Premier League while the World Cup's on. But honestly, it's a real pleasure to come on. Maybe one of these days I'll come on when Nottingham Forest have actually won a match. Do you know what I mean? No, it's
Maybe
a pleasure.
next Wednesday.
Lads. Wish you all the best.
No, you're a legend, Dave. Billy, you likewise, man. And get yourself over to Total Screamers podcast. Make sure you subscribe to what Billy's doing over there with him and the boys. But Billy, I hope things start to pick up for you under Emery, bro.
Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. It's just gonna say it's a pleasure for having me again, and yeah, hopefully this time next week, Villa will be 3 points better off, and United will be 3 points worse off.
I hope so. I'd love to see you beat United. I'd love to see you beat United. Someone's got to shut them up. Their fans are getting all cocky again because they've got a couple of wins. Oh, it's embarrassing.
Unai's the man to do it.
Oh, I hope so. Well, he was against them in Villarreal, so let's hope he does the same. And he used to beat him for us as well when he was at Arsenal. So, and of course, Liam, thank you, my guy. And I hope that things pick up for yourself and you get another
thank you, man.
victory.
Always a pleasure to come on.
Ralph picks it. Yeah, cheers, my guy. Thank you so much, man. Listen, guys, thank you as well for all listening and coming back yet again. You lot are absolutely mad. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week to do more content. Make sure that you watch both of this on Catch Up if you haven't done so already. And of course, the Race for Europe show yesterday. And follow all the guys on socials. Make sure you smash a like and a subscribe. If you can get me up to 6K, that'd be amazing. I think I'm about 150 off of 6K, man. So come on, people. Get me up there. If you can do it for my birthday tomorrow, I'll be 35 tomorrow. I'd be loved if you can do it for 6K tomorrow. So
you look a lot younger than that, Potsy.
Oh, thank you very much, Dave.
And give my love. Was it your mum that was like putting the notes on?
Yeah, my mum does all the stuff in the chat. She loves it.
Lots of love to you, Donna. You've raised a lovely lad.
Ah, that's very kind of you, man. She'll be happy with that. And no, I appreciate that, man. Love, boys, and we'll see you next week. Take it easy, all right?
See you later, mate.